So we're going to use this Thankful Magnolias today with a slight twist. So when I did my initial sample, I did this beautiful kind of rosy colored magnolia. I don't know if it's true to the actual flower of the magnolia tree, but I kind of liked it. So I had to take my car into service and had to sit for a while. So I did a bunch of cutouts, and I did this with the Ohuhu alcohol markers. So I grabbed what I thought were the right markers and took them with me. And lo and behold, this is what I got compared to what I had previously done. And when I finished all of these and looked at them and thought, man, that's a really bright red. And then I compared it to my original and thought, yeah, that's not what I was looking for. And then immediately thought, Christmas. So let's get to it. I've already got my Misti set up with the Magnolia stamp, and I've got my jig, for lack of a better word, already outlined. I've got a cutout because I did a bunch of die cuts, and I've got it already prepared. And this tape I'm using, it's this frog tape. It's for delicate surfaces. And I tried in a previous video where I've got minty tape down, and a minty tape didn't quite work. So I have sticky, you can hear it, I think. I've got it facing up to hold my die cuts better, and I stuck a piece on the back, and then I put it on my shorts to kind of get some of the tackiness off. And then we're going to use Memento Tuxedo black ink since we are doing alcohol with this. So let's get this, well, before we ink that up and stamp, we've got to get this die cut stuck in there. So I'm just tapping, tap, 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 and press down. It stays put. I think I want to do one more round of ink just to get it in. And I'm stamping these up, and then I'm going to let them sit for a while. You can heat seal it. I like to let them sit. And I did cut out of my jig. Ooh, that's still really tacky. The pieces so that I can get into with my fingernail and pull them up. So I'm going to speed this along, and you will probably not see all of them being stamped out. So you'll see I put some more tape down. It helps secure the jig for when I'm pulling the die cut out. So here's my last die cut. Like I said, you wouldn't make you sit here and watch as I cut out all of them. And one more stamp. And there we go. And like I said, easier. I cut out up here. I cut out that section right here so that I could easily slip my finger in there and pull it out. And then it was just a matter of just pulling up like that, and you're done. And here's all of the die cuts that we've done, and we're going to get them colored here in just a moment. Okay, now that we have all of our magnolias cut out and stamped, now's the time for coloring. And like I mentioned earlier, I took a bunch of these to the car dealership while I was having some work done, and it was supposed to be a dusty rose, really pretty, and it turned out super red, and I'm like, oh, but wait, this is a great Christmas. So I'm going to use my Ohuhu markers, and I'm using R180, YR33, and G5. Not a lot of super blending, and I'm trying out my little turntable. You saw me use it when I was doing the Christmas pattern paper background last week, and so we're going to give it a try. So I've got my 110-pound cardstock that I put on top of my alcohol marker coloring mat, because it's got stains, because alcohol markers will go through. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do one of these on camera, and the rest I'm going to take offline. That way, again, we're trying to respect your time. And on these, I have up the brush and the fine tip. And I'm going to start out with the brush, excuse me, the fine tip, because there's some little itty bitty pieces that, and I'm going to try not to get my head in the way. Just want to get a couple of these smaller ones. And then I'm going to switch over to the brush, and I'm not doing any kind of shading. I'm not a fancy colorer. I'm just trying to stay within the lines. Although I have a little trick should I go out. Hoping I don't, but I'd like to be able to show you the little trick. I use a white colored pencil, and I'll get it here in a minute. Oops, I did. I went outside the line on that one. And this will lighten up just a smidge. Let's get all the greenery, and then I'll go over and I'll fix that. This is what I'm supposed to be doing instead of turning that. So I'm still learning, teaching myself how to use my tools. Okay, so I kind of went outside the line. Where is that? Right here. And all I have is a Prismacolor white pencil. And I let it dry. Alcohol markers dry pretty fast. And I've learned that if you just kind of run it across the edge, it will cover it up. I think I did that on this flower, but it's behind the Merry Christmas. So let's go ahead and get the red. And then, oops, I want the brush. I don't want the fine tip, because we're going to do these in large sweeping coloring. Just like that. And I'm leaving the center as uncolored as possible, because we're going to do that I think it was YR33 in the center. Sorry, I can't talk and do this at the same time. I'm not a multitasker in that respect. I can multitask, but not when I'm trying to do this detail coloring, which is why I don't want you to have to sit here and watch me do it. But in the meantime, since I'm editing this, I'll shut up now so you can listen to some nice Christmas music. Okay, we are done with the red. Make sure those caps are on. And then just the center of this flower right here. Just color that in. Just a hint of yellow. So let me pull that up to the camera. Isn't that beautiful? And I didn't go outside the line except for, oh, I see where I did. So right here on that side, you can kind of see where I went over the line. And I'm just gonna hide that a little bit. And right down in here. See? Oh, hi, Sheena. Sheena just came in. So it doesn't hide it perfectly, but it hides it more than if it's not hidden. So I'm going to go ahead, pause you or skip ahead, and when I get done, I'll show you the finished product. And here we are. Isn't it looking a lot like Christmas? I think these turned out very well. There's a few places where I went over the line and you really can't tell. So on to the next step. So for the sentiment, I ran to the card kit from the July 2025 release, the Christmas in July card kit. I know it's sold out, so if you're watching this before the August release of Gina K products, you can't get these individually, but once the new August well, you'll have a new card kit released in August, but once her release is live, all of these will be individually available in her store. So the one we're going to focus on, let me get that out of the way, is this Let Your Light Shine. And it comes with a coloring stencil, dies, and coordinating dies, and the stamp. And what we're going to use, as you can see, I've used a lot, is this Merry Christmas. I haven't yet played with this string of lights. I've seen a ton of samples and designs that people are doing on the Gina K Designs, and I'm gonna have to write it down. She's got a Facebook group that I'm a part of, and I can't remember the exact name of it. There's some imposters out there, so if it's got 49,000-ish members, that's the one. That's the one. I'm gonna have to get that written down and put a little post-it here so I remember what it's called. But we're gonna use this Merry Christmas, and I played with it a lot. I didn't like just the black. It's very beautiful. I love everything about this. It's got the little heart, but I wasn't in love with the black on my card design. So my next was using Delicata Golden Glitz. And this is just too yellow for me, especially with everything I'm doing. So that was like a no-go. And I did emboss it. It just didn't work. And everything I'm doing is in green, the red, well, and then the red flower that we've already colored. It just screamed, no, it kind of works, but I like what we chose. And then, and on this one, actually, I don't know if you can see it. It's got some gold. So what I did is I took this gold Delicata Golden Glitz, stamped it first, heat set it, and then I stamped over it in the red, cherry red of the Gina K inks. And I think you can kind of see some glitter coming through that. I like that effect, but I wasn't sold on it. So just straight up cherry red, it just didn't work. And then I did the same thing with the medium spruce and did the gold first and put this on top. And it kind of gave it a yellow hue. And I just wasn't liking that with the card. So that was a no-go. And then I took the dark spruce and tried that. And again, closer, but I wanted to give it a little oomph. So Gina K did an ombre type of sentiment here in the last couple weeks. So I borrowed that technique from her. So we're going to do that. It's the medium spruce, and then you can kind of see it's a little darker at the bottom of Merry and then Christmas. That's the dark spruce. So that's what we're going to do. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and move a bunch of stuff out of the way. And you've probably seen this. Ooh, let's center that. You've probably seen this a dozen times, but this is my new favorite in stamping die cuts. So I just put down just a 80-pound piece of cardstock. I won't use it after this, and just want to stamp that. I don't care that it's not perfect. And I have a I saved one of the outsides of the die, the outline of the die, and put a little mint tape on the back. And I am going to use my Frog Delicate Surface Painter's Tape. And then I'm just going to center this as best I can. If I get my head in the way, I'm really sorry, but I want to make sure this is perfect. I think we're there. So I think you can see it's perfectly lined up in there. And all I'm going to do is since we're making 5 cards, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6. So had an extra. I'm going to stick those in there. I'm going to do all the spruces, medium spruce first. And just get these done really quick. And actually, I'm going to show you this one, and then I'll do all the rest of them off camera. That way, you don't have to sit here and watch me do these, since we're doing 5 cards in total. So I've got the ink cube, and all I'm doing is gently doing the bottom of the Merry Christmas. And she was just kissing. So I'm going to do the same thing without hitting the top of the Christmas. I'm just going to, and I got a piece of the ink pad that just came off. I want to make sure I pull that off. So I got that pulled off. And I just want to make sure. There, let's see what we get. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that a lot. I love that look. So from here on out, I am going to finish these up, and I will be right back. And here we are, the finished product. I think those are just so stunning and fun. The ombre, that's what they call that. The ombre is kind of subtle on a few of them, but others, it just pops right out. So on to the next step. Okay, let's put this card together. We've already done the pieces that we're going to put on top, and last week's video, and I'll put a link up here, and down below in the description of how we made this background. I'm going to show you it cut out already, because I've already cut out all the parts and pieces, but let's look at all the different parts and pieces. And on the inside, we're going to do something really fun. We're going to use this Joy to the World, and you can see the 2 stamps I used, along with the cherry red ink and the Memento Tuxedo black marker. I dressed up the inside. It's trying to focus on the background, sorry. I took that little black marker and colored in all the little red dots just to add a little spice and give it a little more dimension and interest on the inside. So I used Christmas pine for the front and the inside mat. And I used, let me move some of this out of the way so that I can spread out. So I used Master Layouts 1 from Gina K Designs, and the mat front and inside on Master Layout 1, I used the larger of the 2 rectangles. So you see that on the inside. So I've got these 2 panels. Let me grab, I've already got them cut out so that way you don't have to watch me cut them out. But this is of the Master Layouts 1, the larger of the rectangles. Then the front focal layer, which I've got this pretty embossing. So I used Master Layout 1, the smaller of the 2 larger rectangles. And I used, for this particular card, the gingham. I think it's easier to see when I put some colored white cardstock behind it. And I think you can see the pretty texture that it gives on both sides. So what I did is I actually embossed my cardstock first and then went in and cut where I wanted to cut. That way I didn't have to worry about where it lined up. And because this is a regular 2D embossing folder, I didn't have to worry too much about my die cutting machine flattening this out. So did that, and then same Master Layout rectangle, I cut out the inside panel. So the smaller of the larger rectangles, if that makes sense. And then I use these 2 longer, I call them skinny rectangles, to cut out this part, which from the music background paper that we did. I used the smaller skinny rectangle, and then of Christmas pine I did the larger. So those are all of our pieces and parts. So let me pause you, clean this up, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that I have this all together, I have a white card base. It's I get these cut and scored. I think you can see the score mark. It's easier for me, and it's less wear and tear on my trimmers and guillotine cutters. But I purchased this from a place in Valparaiso, Indiana, CutCardStock.com. I think I've mentioned that a lot previously. So we're just going to use a white A2 card base. It's Neenah Classic Crest Solar White, 110 pound. And I fold towards the bump. And it has to do with the fibers in the cardstock so that you don't get cracking along here. And then I'm using my Teflon folder and just burnishing that down. So let's get the front done up. Oops, that is for the inside. We'll do that piece last. And I'm going to use the Gina K ThermoWeb tape runner. And I want to make sure I get these. I want the squares. I think you can see the squares are indented versus raised. And I want that to be the top. So I'm just going to run my tape runner. I think you could see this. Let me see if I can get just a smidge closer. Ooh, that's too close. There we go. There we go. And line this up. Get this up here. I'm going to try not to get my head in the way, but it's really hard to line these up. So I do upper right hand corner, lower left hand corner, and as long as those 2 corners are where I want them, the whole panel will lay the way I want it. See? That just brilliantly lines up everything. A crafter of my best friend taught me that in a class that we did. So I'm going to put this on the front, do the same thing, left. I'm going to use the camera as best I can on the monitor to get these lined up. And there we go. And this guy, there's really not a direction of the music, but to me there's the music there. We're just going to go with that one. We'll get this assembled really quickly. And same thing, if I can get upper and lower left, everything will line up just like that. And I'm laying this, let me get this put down first and then I'll show you, okay, right direction. And I'm leaving maybe a 1/2 inch. Perfect. And I've got everything on here pretty flat because this is a Christmas card and I want it to go through the mail and I want it to survive the mail. So I kind of did everything a little flat. We'll worry about the middle here in a minute. Let's go ahead and get our flower. Move you just a smidge closer. And I'm going to put this down with glue rather than my tape runner. And it's going to lay, I want it to go up a little. This one I had down too far. Oh, maybe not. I kind of like that. Yeah. And just spread a little bit of glue around. Part of the flower hangs over, but it's fine if you get too much glue. Not too much glue, but glue in parts that aren't going to anchor. And then I'm just going to hold that down. And in fact, I'm going to get one of my bigger blocks and press that down just a smidge. And while that's doing, we're going to, so how this, too close, but I want you to see what I'm doing. So I'm not going to put a dimensional under the M or the C and the H, but everything else I am, because we're going to glue that to the flower. And I'm still using up my Stampin' Up! Things. And I just took a highlighter so that I could tell if the paper was still on the dimensional. And I'm just going to put these around. So this is the M by this index finger, so I don't want to get that. And then the C and the H right there. We'll put a dimensional right there. Okay, so let's peel those off. It also helps me find them when I flick them onto the floor by mistake. They really show up. Okay, so let me get my tweezers. Where are my tweezers? I lost my tweezers. Oh, there they are. So, okay, so get the glue back out and I'm going to put a little glue on the C, the H, and up here by the M. And then let's see if I can get this straight. It kind of helps with the background being embossed. I think that's straight. Yep. So I'm just going to press that down, get that glue. And then on the front, I've got these gold discs by Spellbinders. I think these are really pretty. And I know you're supposed to put these on in odd numbers, but I have 8. I have 8 of them on here. And I'm going to match this because there's one up here and there's one here. So there's a total of 8. So I'm just going to put little glue dots where I'm going to put them. I'm going to put one down here. Then one up here. Stagger these a little, and then one right here. So using my wax tip, and I'm going to pick these up, and I'm making sure that I've got the right side. There's a concave side, so you may see me flip these over. Like this one, I can tell I need to flip it over. You may not be able to see it. I think you can. Okay, let's get one of these big guys. Yeah, I gotta flip that guy over. Put a big guy right there. Come on. You need to stick to there it goes. I just wasn't holding it long enough to the glue. Let's get a little guy. Oh, gotta flip you over. And we'll put another little guy down here. Flip him over. There we go. That's the front of the card. Oh, and I was out of shot, so sorry about that. Let me put these away before I spill the whole thing. And let's do the inside for this card. So I'm just using some regular copy paper I doubled over and the cherry red ink. These cubes seal really tight, which is great, but at the same time, if you don't open it properly and it like springs out of your hand. Okay, so this is the smaller of the two. Oops, I want to ink up the larger one first because I want the larger one here in the corner. Just like that. Tap, tap, tap. All right. Done with that ink, and then I'm just, yes, and I still have this from Stampin' Up. I love my Simply Chamois. I've got a tidy towel that when this wears out, I will break it out. And then the ink, the center of these flowers, I can't get you any closer, but you see the little center? All I'm going to do is I'm going to take the fine tip of the marker, and try not to get my head because these little dots are teeny tiny. I'll show you here in a second. I'm just filling those little red dots in with some black just to give it a little more interest and oomph. And we can, there's the tape runner. Oops, put it on the white. Not the green yet. And center it. Upper right, lower left. I love the Master Layout series because all of these are perfectly cut. If I eyeball it, and you may be one of these that's talented and can cut to the appropriate size, and if you can, wonderful. And just like that, we are done with this card. Aren't these just so beautiful? And let's zoom this out, clear this up a little bit. These are the 6 cards we made using a non-Christmas flower stamp, the Thankful Magnolia. I think this is just such a fun card and is absolutely stunningly beautiful and colored in with the Christmas colors. It just works beautifully. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you stopping by and your interest. I'll have all the items that I used listed below in the video description, and if you want to shop using my links, I'll have a Gina K Designs link to the website. Some of the items were not Gina K Designs. I'll have all the links over on my blog where I centrally keep all of my shopping links, affiliate links. I get a very small commission if you use those links. And what I do is I put that back into the channel in buying the products that I demonstrate and use. So thanks again so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. And in the meantime, happy stamping.